Everything you know about networking is probably wrong and is likely the reason that you're not seeing any results. Networking can be very valuable if done correctly. However, most execute in ways that don't generate any momentum. When you really think about it, networking is simply just about making friends with people who work at companies that you might be interested in. That's really it. There's no special technique, there's no mystery formula, and you already know how to do this because you've been making friends your entire life. When it comes to professional relationships though, you've been taught to play a completely unnatural game. This leads you to show up to networking events acting like somebody you're not, or sending LinkedIn messages that sound very robotic, or even worse, copying and pasting the same cold email to 100 people. The reason networking doesn't work for you isn't because you're bad at it. It's because you're networking at the worst possible time, in the worst way, and using outdated playbooks. In this video, we're gonna break down why everybody gets networking wrong, but actually works in 2026, and the one shift that will change everything for you. Let me ask you something first. How did you make your best friend? You probably met them through some shared context. Maybe it was the same dorm room floor, maybe it was the same class, or you're on the same sports team. You had a few conversations, you hung out, and you started to realize that you liked talking to them and spending time with them. Over time, these casual and organic interactions turned into a real friendship, right? At no point did you schedule a friendship networking call or ask them to explore potential synergies between you two. But when you try to network in a professional setting, you flip a switch. You become unnatural and you start treating it like a transaction instead of just a relationship. You might, for example, find someone on LinkedIn who works at a target company that you're interested in working in and start sending them a message immediately asking for something transactional. Instead of leading from a place of curiosity and trying to just genuinely learn, you're just looking to get something out of it. People can smell this from a mile away. When you approach networking as, I need something from you, the other person will immediately put their wall up. They will become guarded and the conversation will remain surface level. This is why networking fails for most people. They're not actually interested in the person, they're just looking to extract value as quickly as possible. Second biggest mistake that people make is the timing of it. Most people will only start networking when they desperately need something, right? By the time that the job is posted publicly, it's already too late though. We went through this in detail in my previous video, and if you want to learn how to find hidden job opportunities, click the link above. 80% of jobs never make it to publicly available job boards. And when they do get posted, it's often just a formality. By that time, the hiring manager already has somebody in mind, and usually it's somebody who was recommended by a current employee or someone that they met months ago. By the time that you start networking, you're not competing against other applicants. You're competing against the ghost candidate who built a relationship with the hiring manager months ago when they weren't even recruiting. When you email someone asking for a referral right after you applied, you're not saving your application. You're just showing up to the audition after the role has already been cast. The decision has already been made, you just don't know it yet. This is why everything you've been taught about networking doesn't work. It's not that the advice is wrong or outdated. The timing of when you do this is backwards. So if everything that you've learned about networking is wrong and doesn't actually work, then what are you supposed to even do? The answer is pretty simple and you already know what it is. In short, you need to stop trying to network and start trying to just make an older friend who works in your field. Think about how you actually made friends. You didn't optimize for it. You didn't have a strategy. You just found people that you were genuinely curious about, had conversations with them, and over time, these conversations and interactions turned into a real friendship. The exact same thing works professionally. The only difference is that you have to be a little bit more intentional about finding people whose careers you want to learn from. Here's what this can actually look like in practice. Let's say you're interested in working in sports. You come across Cosm, a company building the future of live sports viewing. You find somebody who currently works there and send them a thoughtful note. Here's the key insight. In this email, you're not really asking for a referral. You're not mentioning any jobs or internships. You're not being transactional. You're just approaching it as if you genuinely want to learn about this person, the role, and the company. The email can look something like, Hi Jeremy, I came across Cosm and saw you guys are building the future of sports and entertainment viewing. I recently read the Forbes article and think your concept of creating a shared reality is really interesting. I'm a sophomore at Arizona State University. Do you have 15 minutes for a call? I'd love to learn about your experience and the company. Notice what's happening here. You're not performing, you're not using formal LinkedIn language. You're just simply saying, hey, I think what you're doing is interesting. I want to learn more. Can we talk about it? This is exactly how you approach making a friend, right? If you see someone reading a book at a coffee shop that you're curious about, you might ask them about it and naturally you'll just have a conversation. And over time, this conversation can lead to something. It's no different in the professional sense. I'll note that while it's important to treat this as a friendship, you need to balance the fact that it is a professional conversation and you're meeting a stranger. So you can't act the way that you would with your roommates, but you can be a little bit less robotic than you think. Avoid questions that you can find online as it's generally a waste of time for both of you. Remember what the goal is here. You're trying to make this person want to help you. And the way to do this is by having an interesting conversation. So ask questions that Google can't answer. Some example questions can be, what's the most counterintuitive thing you've learned about the live sports industry? Or something like, what problems are you working on that nobody's talking about publicly? Or it could be something more personal like, if you were starting your career today, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently? These questions do two things. First, they show that you've done your homework. You can't ask good questions without understanding the basics. Second, they make the conversation energizing for the other person. People love talking about problems that they're solving and lessons that they've learned. It makes them feel smart and helpful. And what happens when you do this right is that the professionals will bring up the opportunities themselves. Going back to our example, let's say the person gets a 15-minute phone call with Jeremy at Cosm. He asks thoughtful questions about the company, about Jeremy's experiences, and about the future of live sports. He makes it clear that he's genuinely curious and just trying to learn. Jeremy enjoys the conversation, and at the end, he asks, by the way, are you looking for an internship? We actually have a finance role open, and I'd be happy to refer you internally. Jake didn't ask for the referral. He didn't even hint at it. He just had a a real conversation that made Jeremy want to help. This is the difference between networking and making friends. When you're genuinely curious and approaching from a place of wanting to learn, people can tell and they actually want to help you. In this example, call led to an internship very organically, but many times it does take building a relationship for multiple months. Most people are able to send a cold email, then have a great coffee chat, but are unable to maintain a longer term relationship. Think about your real relationships. If someone helped you with something and you never followed up, never said thank you, or never kept them updated, that friendship would die, right? You'd be a bad friend. The same thing applies here. After meaningful conversations, you need to follow up. Not with a generic thanks for their time email, but with something specific that shows that you were actually listening, right? Reference something they said that stuck with you. Tell them what you're doing with their advice, and then actually stay in touch. Not in a forced way, but just in a way that you would with anyone who's helped you. Send updates when something relevant happens, share an article that they find interesting, and let them know how things are turning out. This is how you turn a coffee chat into a real relationship. You show you're not just extracting value, you're trying to be a genuine person in their lives. Here's what starts happening when you do this consistently. People start becoming invested in your success, and you're not just some random person who asked for their time. You're someone that they helped and who actually took their advice seriously. And when an opportunity comes across their desks, they're gonna think of you first. This is what they mean when they say networking compound. They don't mean collecting 500 LinkedIn connections. They mean building 5 to 10 real relationships with people who genuinely want to see you succeed. You already know how to do this. You've done it with every real friend that you've made in your life. You've had real conversations, you've followed up, you've stayed in touch, you've showed genuine interest in their life. The only difference is now that these friends happen to work at companies that you're interested in and are a little bit older than you. And when you approach it this way, from a point of genuine curiosity, the transactional benefits will follow naturally. Here's the billion-dollar secret that separates people who consistently land opportunities from the people who submit hundreds of applications and hear nothing back. The best time to network is when you don't actually need it. I'll say it again. The best time to network is when you don't actually need it. This is why Jake's approach from earlier worked, right? He wasn't desperately trying to save an application, and he reached out before he actually needed anything. He came from a place of genuine curiosity with no immediate agenda. When you network before you need something, everything will start changing for you. You won't be performing, you're not trying to impress anyone, and you don't really have stress. You're just curious about someone's career and you want to learn from them. This authenticity will come across in every interaction. You'll start to build relationships over time so that when you do need something a few months or years from now, you're not cold emailing strangers, you're just asking friends. If you start now and reach out to one person this week, have a genuine conversation, follow up, keep in touch, and by the time you're actually recruiting, you'll have 10 to 20 real relationships with people who actually want to help. You won't need to apply to hundreds of jobs. You'll start getting referrals before positions are even posted. This is how people who seem to effortlessly land opportunities actually do it. They're not better at networking, they're not more charismatic, and they're probably not even smarter than you. They just started earlier and they're actually building relationships rather than just being transactional. The people who struggle are the ones who try to network while they're in crisis mode. They might be 3 months from graduation, frantically reaching out to anyone who will talk to them and hoping that someone will throw them a lifeline. This type of mindset will show in every interaction that you're having. So you don't have to be this person. Here's what you can do this week. Find one person whose career you genuinely admire. Not someone at a company you're applying to, not someone who you can reach out to for a job, just someone whose path that interests you. Try to find their email and send them a short and genuine message asking for 15 minutes of their time. Don't mention a job, don't ask for referrals, just be curious about their experience. Have a conversation, ask questions that Google can't answer, and make it interesting for them. Make them want to help you. Follow up and send them a specific thank you, and if they recommended something like a book, actually do it and tell them what you learned. That's really it. Just start with one person, one conversation, and build one genuine and real relationship. Do this once a month for the next year, and you'll have 12 real relationships with people who want to see you succeed. Do it once a week, and you'll have 52. That's your network, not 500 random LinkedIn connections, not a stack of random business cards that you'll get at networking events. These will be real people who actually know you and will go out of their way to help you. This is the difference between people who land opportunities and who continue to submit applications into the void. So you need to stop networking and just start trying to make friends. Start now before you actually need it. If you want more playbooks and insights into how this actually all works, the stuff that nobody else is telling you about how to build a career on your own terms, subscribe to our Future Proof newsletter. Every week, we break down the unspoken rules that separate people who succeed from people who just follow the conventional playbook and wonder why nothing's working. The job market has changed, the old rules don't work anymore, but most people are still playing by them. Don't be most people.